Hello, my friends. Welcome to my channel. We are broadcasting from Gravity 2. This is our studio. We're working on Module 3, Lesson 9, and we are solving an addition problem. And we are looking at adding fractions. This is the symbol for fractions, numerator and denominator, with unlike denominators. Okay, so our goal today is to add these numbers. Now today we're going to get away from using models or number lines, and we're going to add these numbers. Now, how are we going to do this? Well, one way we're going to do this is we're going to cross multiply, and we're going to have the denominators help each other out. So let's start with the first one. So this is 5 nines. I'm going to rewrite the number 5 nines. Now that number is going to be multiplied by the opposite denominator, which is 6. And when you do that, then you multiply the denominator times the opposite denominator and the numerator times the opposite denominator. That is our first step, my friends. Now we're going to do a check. I'm going to write, because that's a plus sign, and I'm going to choose a different color so you can see the difference. Now we're going to work with this number, which is 5 sixths. So we're going to find an equivalent fraction for that number, and the way we are going to do that, we're going to rewrite the same fraction. And we're going to multiply that fraction by the opposite denominator. What is the opposite denominator? Well, if this is 6, the opposite denominator is the 9. So we're going to multiply by 9 nines. All right, and that's how we set it up. Now, we're going to do the multiplication, which is when you are multiplying fractions that are, you multiply numerator times numerator, which is 5 times 6 equals 30. And 9 times 6 equals 54. So now we just transformed 5 nines into an equivalent fraction, which is 30 54s. Now we're going to do the second one, and the second one is going to be 5 times 9 equals 45 on the numerator. The denominator should be the same. 6 times 9 equals 54. Okay, now see, when we find these equivalent fractions, we can add them with like denominators. The denominator stays the same because they're the same. And we're going to add 3 tenths plus 45. And the answer is 75 54s. Now, that is an improper fraction. When the numerator is bigger than the denominator, it's an improper fraction. So now we're going to convert improper fraction to a mixed number. Okay, let's get to that work done. So let's look at the improper fraction. So that's 75 54s. There are two ways in which I teach this to my students. We're going to decompose that number into two numbers, and those two numbers have to have the same denominator because we are decomposing this number. So now one way I do this, I said, okay, the first number has to be equal 1. So you write 54 54s because that equals 1. Next, whatever is left, we're going to place it on the second fraction. So if we take away 4 from 5 equals 1, and take away 5 from 7 equals 2. Okay, so that is now our Mixed number. Why? Because this equals 1. 54 divided by 4 equals 1 plus 21 54s. So now we know that the answer is 1 and 21 54s. Now that's one way. The other way that will be maybe easier, more difficult, I don't know, you can use whatever you think is appropriate so it is easier for you. I'm going to make a little division here. So I'm going to grab the same number, 75. So here's the 75 divided by, which is the line across, 54. Now again, you go through the normal routine of solving this division. The 54 goes into the 75 one time. Then you multiply 1 times 54 equals 54. And the remainder is 21. So there is a mixed number. The pool next to the house. And that's how you write the answer. The pool next to the house. Now, the pool is a whole number. The house is 21 parts out of 54. Okay, my friends? So now, that is how you convert an improper fraction to a mixed number. Now, here's our next step. Our next step is to see if we can simplify. So I'm going to write simplify. Okay? So let's look at the number. Let's see if there is any simplification. So we're going to look at the number 1 and 24 54s. And how do you simplify? Well, one way to simplify it is when you can see if they have a common number that they can be divided by. So here's what I would do. On the side, I will look at 21. I will do a t-chart. That is not a t-chart. Let me do a t-chart. For each of them, I will do a t-chart. So you get the 21, and then you get the 54. And then you say, okay, a factor for 21 is 1 times 21. And 2 is not a factor, so 3 times 7 equals 21. So there you have it. Those are the factors for 21. Now we're going to look at a 54. We say that 2 times 27 equals 54. Now, would the 3 go into it? And the answer will be no. Well, let me check. That will be 30. And I have a better idea. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to see that 54, any number times 3 equals 54. So I'm going to go with 10. That will be 30. How about 20? If I multiply by 20, that will be 60. Though that will not work. What if I multiply? I'm going to remove 6. So what if I say 3 times 18? So 8 times 3 equals 24. We carry 2 over. 3 times 1 equals 3 plus 2 equals 4. Oh, look at this. So it can be 3 times 18. So now you know that these two numbers have a common, it's called a common denominator. I mean, a common factor. And the factor is the number 3. So that's how we know we can simplify. So the simplification goes as follows. Then you grab the number 1 and 21 54s divided by, we know that the factor is 3. 3 goes into both of them evenly by 3. The 1 stays the same, and you say how many times the 3 goes into the 21, and the answer is 7. Okay, the answer is 7. And now we say how many times that 3 goes into the 54, and we already know the answer is here. And the answer is 18. So this will be the simplification of the problem. My friends, watch the video again. This is a good video to watch if you are struggling with fractions. And review them. The first thing you do is find the common denominator, which we did up here. We found the common denominator. Let me write this. Find common denominator. And then we found the, what is that called? We found let me scroll down, and we converted the improper fraction into a mixed number. And the third step was to simplify, which is right here. Okay, my friends, become a better mathematicians. This is your coach, Peter Parker. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is right here on the corner. My name is Peter Parker, your coach today. Keep learning and work with your brain, which is very powerful, my friends. Signing out from Studio Gravity 2